here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time in Heritage Hill on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York. You'll find them out in the rolling hills of upstate New York on Palladino Farms there at their location at Heritage Hill Brewhouse, and of course at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right at Sweetheart Corners. We are here today on a Wednesday, which means we're back in Dolphin time, and we'll be there with two gentlemen from the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer team, as believe it or not, we are in this 2024 season and quickly approaching all of our sports here in the fall. Inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We will start the broadcast off today with Jack Goodrich and Ziad Abdul-Malak joining me here from Moyne Dolphins men's soccer, and in hour number 2, heading right toward hour number 2 around 9:45 a.m. Eastern time, we'll have Ken Bartolo speaking with us on CTE and living with CTE post playing collegiately and professionally in football and lacrosse. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on the broadcast, and always happy to do the Dolphin Dive as we step into year 4. And in that year 4 celebration of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne, I have Ziad here with us as well as Jack. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. And Z, I want to start with you here. We were talking off the air about the fact that you got to spend the summer in New York City. Bring us into what you got to do and what it was like to be in the big city lights for a little while.
Yeah, it was definitely a change. I was able and grateful enough to work for AIG. I did insurance. The actual office was in Jersey City, but I have a family friend that I was able to live with who lived in Manhattan. So the commute wasn't too bad. It was 40 minutes, and living in Syracuse my whole life to go to New York, it was definitely a change, but I definitely enjoyed it and just happy to be back.
And you said it was a change at 40 minutes to get to work in the morning. Did that mean that work was 2 blocks away?
In theory, yeah, but for some ways, any type of delays, it could go from 30 to 45 minutes. But yeah, it was definitely a change from driving in Syracuse to having to take a subway and walking a couple blocks. But I definitely enjoyed it.
Your education that you've gotten at Moyne so far, do you feel like now, having done this internship, that this education that you've been getting there at Moyne College has helped you to prepare you for what's to come next in your next chapter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I myself, I'm a marketing major, but the internship was more insurance side. But the great thing about Lemoyne is that they have you do all the starter business classes, no matter what your major is, all the requirements. So I was able to get some analytics, and I was doing a lot of analytics for my internship, and I was able to pull some of the stuff I learned in class into what I was doing at the job. So definitely um, having to do all those first level business courses, they definitely helped me in being successful in the summer.
That's awesome, Zian, and congratulations on that opportunity of
Thank
getting
you.
out there and getting to see it. And I always say we're the nicer kind of calmer side of New York, but our driving's gotten a little crazy in central New York. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Jack, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Jack, you got that like stone face, that seriousness. Is this what we're gonna see on the field this season? Like, I mean, I'm telling you this right now, when you were waiting and Z was kind of doing his thing and talking, if that's the demeanor that you hold on the field, I'm terrified of who's gonna go up against you and have to see that. So have you always been like that?
No, I'm a nice guy. It's just, it's hiding behind all this, I guess.
So Jack, bring us into what you did over the summer.
So I was in Canada in Montreal over the summer. I'm not American, so I don't have a work visa here, so I wasn't really successful with looking for jobs out here. So I went up to Canada. I worked just like a company there. I worked over the last two summers.
Yeah.
Just kept fit myself. Enjoyed the summer with my friends. Had a good time.
And we were talking about how fast this goes by. When it comes to the world of soccer, it felt like 5 minutes. It felt like graduation, and now we're back into the season. I mean, I know you love the sport. I know it means a lot to you both. But does it feel like the snap of a finger that your semester ends and then here we are back on the field?
Definitely. I thought the summer went by like that for me as well. You know, the spring season ended, and then you're keeping fit. Next thing you know, you're back in for preseason, and you're ready to go again.
Now, going into this season, last year, Callum Donnelly, interim head coach, and now he's your official head coach. And Jack, I'll start with you on this. Why do you believe that Callum is the right one to lead this program for Moyne in men's soccer?
I mean, so I've worked with Cal, since I was a freshman. He was always here. He was the assistant coach when I was there. So we've always had a really good relationship. I've learned a lot about Cal. I've seen how passionate he is about Moyne. He wants to win. He wants the best for the players. He's a real. You can really connect with him as a player. You don't really see him just as a coach. He's more of a friend, someone you can go to with any issues, which I feel is really important as a player, especially. But at the end of the day, he wants to win, and he puts so much work into the team with recruiting, things outside just the soccer, academics as well. If you've got any issues, you can go to Cal. He'll always be there to help you. That's a really important area of a coach, to have.
And for you, Z, what is it about Callum that makes you believe that when it comes to this program and it comes to leadership and overseeing it and carrying it in to this next chapter, that he's the right guy?
Yeah, similar to what Jack says. If you know Cal, you know that soccer is basically his whole life. I mean, he dedicates so much time and effort into his job and everything he does, and you can tell just how much he cares about it, the way he goes through sessions and whether it's individual meetings with you or just showing up to watch us lift. I mean, he really cares about it, and he's just been around the program for a while. Like obviously, he was a player here and then an assistant, now the coach. So he understands what it's like to be in our shoes as a player, and also what it means to play for Moyne. So all those things together just makes him the right man for the job.
Z, I'm going to stick with you on this. What is your favorite Callum story up to this point?
um, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a funny one, but definitely one that I love is after our first win last year against Central Connecticut, like the first Division One win. I mean, just seeing him celebrate on the sideline, like it really brought a smile to all of our faces because we knew how much it meant to him. Just seeing him jump up and down like a little kid, even though it's just another regular season game, but I know it was a lot of weight off his shoulders because it did take us a while to get in the win column, but just seeing how excited he was for us, and we were all excited again for him. So that was definitely something that sticks with me for sure.
And Jack, for you, do you have a favorite Callum moment?
Not really. It's just we have a lot of good banter in training. Both being from the UK, we kind of have the same crack. But
Yeah.
there was one time he came into training and his hair was all slicked back, and you were giving him a bit of stick for that. He just saying, he woke up like that, but he clearly still had some gel.
And, I mean, for you guys, and listen, like that's why I appreciate it. Wanted you to tell some stories because there is some fun here, right? Callum has that personality, like you said, where he is your coach, but there's so much more that goes beyond that. And because he's been through the trenches, because he's played at Moyne, he's been an assistant at Moyne, he's had this history that has connected him to the program and given him a parallel to what you guys are doing. What has been the greatest lesson learned from Callum, from being at Moyne? Jack, I'll start with you on this, where we've seen you evolve. What has been that, in your opinion, greatest lesson up to this point when it comes to soccer?
Um, I think kind of like the individual sessions we have with him. He'll take you into his office. He'll tell you what you need to work on, what you're doing well, give you some constructive feedback. I think that's really important as a coach to do that with the players, rather than just calling you out in front of the whole team. And he takes you in your office. You have a one-on-one chat. It's more of a personal relationship you have with the coach. I think that's helped me a lot as well as a player to develop. But just to know what I need to be doing better, what I'm doing well. So I think that's a good thing he does.
And for you, for Z, what can you say about when it comes to maybe off the field, off the pitch? What is it that Callum has helped you with away from soccer?
Yeah, off the field. I mean, definitely when I was hurt sophomore year, I had to miss a season. I mean, he definitely made it a point to check on me as often as he could, and little things like that, just like seeing like how's the rehab going, just little comments just to make it known that he's looking out for me, even though I'm not in the field, even though I'm not practicing, that I'm still part of a team and I'm still as important as the guys playing every day. I mean, that really meant a lot to me and really helped me out during a tough time when I wasn't able to play. So that was definitely something that stuck with me. That I knew he cares for everyone equally. So that means a lot as a coach.
And when the game is taken away from you and it's beyond your control, like you were just talking about, how did you navigate through that? Because we talk about mental health and mental toughness and all of that, and it's top of mind now. When I was going to school, there was not a conversation about that. If you were going through a tough time, people said, figure it out, toughen up, stop being weak. I mean, those were the conversations. Now there's mental health coaches, there's people that are there as a resource at all times, or multiple people that are there. There's a plan in place. What can you say about mental health and how you navigated through a time in your career that the game was taken away?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely something that I never had to deal with before. I've never had a long injury before, never had to be out for more than a month at most. So it was definitely something that was new to me. And I think just the closeness and the relationships with your teammates, your coaches, and not being afraid to have a conversation when when things are going wrong. Like I was definitely not scared to talk to close friends on the team because I knew how they would. They always would look out for me. So anytime that I was just feeling down, whether it was not playing or just the injury was taking longer, I just would always know that I could have a conversation, whether it's my teammates, Cal, or even Scott, the trainer. I mean, I knew he's always open to. He's a big advocate for mental health and speaking out for it. So I knew I had enough resources around me where I felt like I wasn't going through it alone, and I could definitely reach out to different people and make just at least make me feel better for the day, for the week, and just made the process a lot easier for sure.
Yeah. And I appreciate hearing that. And now, do you feel like at this point you've kind of leveled up going through all of that you can handle things?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a difficult part of my life. So coming out of that and looking back on it, I can only feel that it's shaped me into becoming a better man and better person, and also not taking anything for granted because obviously it can go away at any time the game. So every day, every practice, every lift, just enjoying it. Obviously, it's my senior year. I do have another year eligibility, so not done yet, but I'm definitely enjoying every day. Like whether it's the team meal, the practice, it's you just can't take it for granted because it goes by very fast, as we were saying earlier. So
Yeah. Z, we're keeping you as long as we can. I hope you know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not leaving.
Jack, on your side, what's a moment of adversity that you've had to grow through while you have been at Moyne on the Heights that you feel like has really helped to make you the person that you are today? Can you pinpoint a moment or two?
So in my sophomore year, in the last game of the season, I actually broke my collarbone. And that was something that, really took a toll on me. It was mentally draining. I couldn't do anything with my left arm, couldn't do a lot of stuff that I usually do. And then, I got it better, got fit again. The first game back in the spring, I re-broke it in the first game. And just knowing that I had to go through that whole process all over again was, something I was really not looking forward to. I was, really upset about it, debating whether to have surgery or not on it, to make it stronger. But the end of the day, I just, had to go through it. There's a lot of good people, on this campus that you can go to talk to. Everyone wants to help you. At the end of the day, they're all there for you. Um, but I think just kind of going through those, two breaks, made me much more resilient. With dealing with failure, bouncing back from issues that happen in life. So yeah, I think that was a big part of my Lemoyne career that made me into who I am today.
Like you said, when that happened, when you broke it, and then you got better, and then it happened again, and you said, I was debating, like, am I going to go through this? How am I going to navigate through this? How did you get through that moment of, because that feeling, right, with anything in life where you feel like you passed a certain thing, right? You had this test, you got through it, and now you're on to the next thing, and then it happens again. How did you, in that moment, deal with that and kind of navigate through that in the moment itself where you're like, this just happened to me?
Well, it was sad because my family flew over from England, and that was the first game they ever watched me when I re-broke it again. So it was horrible. I had all my family there. That's the first game they watched me, and I break in the first 20 minutes of the game. Um, Obviously, they go home, so the hardest thing for me was really not having my family around to kind of support me through that. Drive me around, take me places. Kind of had to go through it by myself. Obviously, I have my friends and my coaches to help me as well, but it's not really the same when there's I have to do stuff that I need to be alone to do. That was something really mentally challenging for me. The way I got through it, I guess, just keeping my head up, knowing that it's going to get better. It won't be the same forever. Just going to keep working hard, keep recovering, eating the right foods. Working hard on my rehab. Just kind of doing all the things that anyone would do with an injury, just to get through it. But I knew at the end of the day, there's going to be a better day where I come out and I'm going to be okay. I'll be training and playing again.
Jack and Z here with us this morning. Dolphin Dive in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Moyne Dolphins men's soccer heading into the 2024 season. We'll get into rapid fire in a couple minutes, but before we go there, we've spoken about injuries, so I got to ask you guys this because when I first started getting around the world of soccer, I had a lot of questions to people that have been watching it forever. And one of my questions when I was watching professional soccer was, what type of phantom Casper things are there on the field that are creating injuries? So there's two questions I have. The fall down injury, when you're watching, like when you guys are watching a game, an MLS game or, an international game or whatever, the faking an injury that we see, as well as what is in that spray bottle that somehow regenerates an entire body. So Z, I'm going to start with you here. The two questions that people typically have, especially when they first start watching soccer, is what type of ghosts are knocking people down on the field, and what is in that water bottle spray?
Yeah, there's ghosts all over the field, especially here at Ted Grant. So if you look closely, you can see him. But yeah, no, definitely where we feel like the ref is not being fair. We might have to exaggerate a little bit, but as soon as Scott Peterson gets that bottle out, I think we're good to go for the rest of the game.
Jack, what can you say about it? I mean, I think it was a Red Bull game I was watching, but there was a guy that fell down on the ground. There was nobody by him. They took a stretcher out, brought him off the field, and within 2 minutes, he was running full speed after a little bit of spray. So what can you say to stuff like that?
I think it's tactical. If the other team's doing it, you got to do it back. If it's going to be worth a free kick on the edge of the box and you got to kind of exaggerate, a tackle, why not? It's tactical at the end of the day. But I mean, obviously, if it's excessive, the ref has to do something about it. Yeah, if people are diving everywhere, you got to get the cards out and stop booking them. But I think at the end of the day, it's a tactical thing that players do to gain an advantage.
Before we get into rapid fire, like I said, looking at this season, this is year 2 in Division 1. And Jack, I'll start with you on this, but I want to hear what you both have to say. What has it been like to transition? Is soccer, and you say, hey, D2, D1, whatever's in front of us is what we got to do? Or has there been a visible difference in the competition that you've been playing in and out of conference? Jack, I'll start with you on this reclassifying, and if it seems different, feels different, or if it feels more of the same.
No, it definitely feels different. One of the biggest things I kind of learned from D2 to D1 is that in D2, you have, like a few individual good players and the rest of the team are kind of, mediocre, still good players, but not at the same level as everyone else. But in D1, you have 11, maybe, 15, players on the bench as well who are solid, good players. Yeah. They can roll off people and you have the same player coming on pretty much. So I think that's the big difference, that you have the collectively good squad in each D1 team. It's a lot more fast paced as well. You can't switch off one. You really got to be alert at all times. I think that's one of the biggest things I've noticed going from D2 to D1.
And for you, Z, what would you say has been the biggest change that's been visible to you?
Yeah, I also felt the competition for sure. I mean, they have deep rosters. I mean, if you think like when they sub someone out, that means the worst player is coming in, you're wrong. I mean, they got guys coming off the bench that you question why they weren't starting in the first place. So the rosters and the athleticism in Division One, it's definitely something that we had to adapt to. And with us last year and having a kind of smaller squad, it was hard. It was hard at the start with injuries to really compete with that, but we were able to get guys back. And anytime that you can bring guys off the bench that can make an impact, it's only beneficial for the team. So this season, I feel like we have a very deep roster, and I think we're going to be very successful when it comes to if guys get hurt, just like a next man up attitude, and it'll definitely help us be successful in the season coming up.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the season and what you have here on the schedule in year two in this reclassification to Division One in 2024. We know that you will start at home against Canisius, and that game will be on Thursday, August 22nd. Then you'll head to Binghamton, which is still in the state of New York, an hour away. You'll head down the road to Syracuse for a September 2nd matchup on a Monday, and then you'll be back home against the University of Delaware, St. Peter's, on the road at St. Bonnie's, Niagara at home, and then we'll start to see that NEC play come through against the LIUs and the Howard, St. Francis, Mercyhurst, who's joined now. When you guys are looking at the schedule, especially those first few games, knowing that you get to open the season at home, and then it's an hour away in Binghamton, and then it's down the street in Syracuse. So you're in Syracuse for 2 out of your first 3 games. Z, I'll start with you. What do you think about the schedule and how it starts?
We for sure like it's different from last season. I mean, I don't think we had a home game until the fifth game of the season, so it was definitely hard to start on the road. So the fact that we can get a home opener for the first game, hopefully get a good crowd there, it's definitely going to be something that we're looking forward to. And like you said, with Binghamton and Syracuse, they're not too far. I know last year we had a lot of away games, a lot of long journeys. They really drain you going to the hotel late at night. So definitely being able to stay not too far from home, it only will help us. We'll feel more energized right at the start, and yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to the start of the season.
Jack, for you, knowing that you get to start at home and then seeing that Binghamton, like I said, an hour away, and then Syracuse down the road, the Syracuse game considered an away game, but it's like a 8-minute drive maybe. So just what your thoughts are about how you get to open up the season through your eyes.
Well, I think it's going to be crucial those first 3 games, especially being so close. I think we need to get results at all 3 of them. Syracuse is going to be a big test for us. I think probably the biggest test Moyne soccer's had ever really, especially with the team they had. They won the national championship. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was a couple
So
years ago.
it's gonna be a big test for us. And Binghamton are also a very good team. Um, and Canisius, who's it? Canisius? Yeah, Canisius are also a very good team. So I think we're gonna be on our A game for those games. And try and get results out of it.
Yeah, I like this schedule because looking at, like you said, it took a while to play a game at home last year in the reclassification, first year in Division One, and that was because scheduling had to be done so quickly. But when we look at this, if you see that Canisius game and then the other game in Syracuse at Syracuse, then you have 3 out of 4 after that at home on Ted Grant Field. So plenty of time, plenty of opportunity for people to come out and see it. I love going out and seeing men's and women's soccer at Moyne. So you guys know that I'll be seeing you out there on the pitch. Let's jump into rapid fire. It gives us the opportunity to put each other on the hot seat. We can ask anything in the world. We have to answer it. We are live internationally all over the place. So wave to your family. Let's have some fun with this. Z, you get to start things off. You can ask me anything you want.
Okay. Well, what has been your favorite song this summer? What have you been bumping these past couple months?
My favorite song this summer. So I was just talking to a buddy of mine who's like a brother to me, and my buddy Isaac. And I told him, I said, man, I don't listen to the radio anymore because like they play the same music. So I'm usually listening to Pandora, and I've been big on going back. One of my favorites growing up that I absolutely love is Phil Collins. And I've been going back through Phil Collins songs, and And so I would say this morning I woke up to singing Rain Down on Me by Phil Collins. And yesterday was Steve Perry from Journey, the song. Oh my goodness, now I'm going to forget it. But I can't remember the name of the. It's a girl's name, but there's a song that he sings. It's not Sadie, but it's something like that. But yeah, though, so I've been going back to like 70s and 80s music because I just feel like music was better back then. So my question back to you, Z. Let's stick with music. If you're coming out onto the field for that game against Canisius, and you want your music, your song that you come out to that's just you, what song is it?
A big like hype up song in the zone. So if that came out before Canisius, definitely ready to run through a brick wall. So I'll go with that.
That is actually the correct answer. When I do listen to more recent stuff, Drake is
Yeah,
typically on it. So anytime somebody
definitely.
says Drake, I'm like, all right, give me the song because I probably know it. So
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah.
one. All right, Jack, what's your question for me?
Who's your favorite English Premier League soccer team? Oh, yeah, are we staying on music or are we
We can
switching
go
off?
any. No, we could go anywhere.
All right, okay.
My favorite English Premier soccer team. I feel like when you're asking me this question, that there's a right answer in your mind.
There is. Well, there's one. There's like two wrong answers.
There's two
Okay.
wrong answers. Okay,
Yes.
so uh, there's a couple ones that I want. I don't know if I could choose between these two. So I guess I would say. I mean, I think Manchester City and Manchester United are where there's a wrong and right answer in here, right?
One
So
of
Yeah.
those. One of those is the wrong
One's
answer.
wrong. One's wrong.
yeah, and so I feel like I could like cop out and be like Liverpool, have a good day, but I it
That's
be,
also the wrong one.
between the two, I would say United.
What's the right answer?
Okay, all right. I mean, what?
That's
But
the
can I
wrong.
ask you guys this though? I mean, like if I Manchester United is the one that I learned that I heard about years ago before Manchester City. It was Man United before Man City. Why why is it never Man City? Like, why do people have so much beef with Man City? Jack, I want to know.
Well, Man United have always been the leading team back in, the late 2000s, kind of, what 1999 era really. City only kind of became popular and a really good team over the last kind of 10 years really. 10, 15 years. But United recently haven't been the best team, have they? See? These supports Man United.
They've been
They've been
struggling.
struggling. So I guess that's kind of why. Plus, like Man City they have one of the probably the best manager in the world right now, maybe of all time, really. Better than Sir Alex Ferguson, I'd say. Yeah. Man, the way he plays football is just like nothing you've ever seen before. He brings in the best players all over the world. They play the best football you've ever seen. So I think that's why now you're kind of hearing a lot more about Man City and Man United aren't really winning any trophies.
Yeah.
So that's why they're kind of on the decline and you don't hear as much about them.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's funny because like we have obviously a Liverpool, New York. So when you see Liverpool in that respect, I always am like, I don't know, I kind of give them a nod if I see them playing somebody. I'm like, all right, let's go. But that's not my question for you, Jack. My question for you is, if you were on the television show Ted Lasso,
Okay.
who would you be and why?
Like which like player?
Which player? Yeah, let's go with player because I love this show and I love the message that comes from it in life and on the pitch. So if you were one of the players, who would you be and why?
Oh, I forgot the names, but I think I'd be the what was like the Mexican guy. What was that his name? Danny What was his name? Did you
Danny
watch it?
Rojas. Danny Rojas.
Danny Rojas. Yeah, I think I'd be like him
Why Danny?
because he was just like a very happy, kind of enthusiastic kind of guy, always smiling. He was very very nice person as well. He had I think it was he left-footed? I think he was a lefty.
Yeah, he might have been.
He
Now
might
you
have been.
got me
I'm a left.
thinking because I haven't watched it in a while.
I know that's what I mean. I've watched both seasons, but it was a while since I watched it.
I love that. Danny Rojas, the positive guy. All right, we're going to go one more round, Z. What's your question for me?
Uh, what's your favorite team to watch on the Heights?
Next question.
Oh,
No.
so,
I mean, listen. Obviously, being in this partnership with Lemoyne, I've had the opportunity to talk with student athletes and coaches throughout every sport, and I feel. I mean, to me, I'm very spoiled because everyone's got a story to tell. You guys have been awesome. I mean, everyone that has sat down with me has given a different angle and their own kind of touch on the sport, their own touch on Lemoyne, on the community. So, I mean, I can't say that I'm going to choose something over something else in the sense of the fact that, like, I appreciate you all as people. But I will say that I love coming out to the soccer games, men's and women's soccer. And it's fun for me because I got into soccer in my early 20s. I didn't play it growing up. And I look back on it and I'm like, it wasn't really like pushed. When we wanted to play a sport, it was like, do you want to play basketball, football, or baseball? And I asked my dad recently, I'm like, why didn't anybody talk about soccer? I was like, I played basketball, I'm 5'8", I can shoot, but 5'8" on a soccer field is, that's fine. I mean, that's a good height. And I'm Italian and Hispanic. So when I started messing around with a soccer ball in high school, my feet started doing these things. And my cousin who played, she goes, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm just messing around. She goes, you look like you know how to play. And I was like, if this is in my blood and my parents didn't put me in this, I'm gonna be mad. But I kind of fell in love with it in like when I was 22, and I coached a U12 team, a U12 travel team in Pennsylvania. And so watching the game, I just kind of like, I have a different appreciation for it from coaching and from like getting into it post college. So, I mean, I to answer your question, I can't pick one single team, but I can tell you that I will be watching you guys on the field and you will be seeing me.
all right, fair enough.
My question back to you, Z. Who's your favorite broadcaster? No, I'm kidding. So, I would say to you, Z. Okay, how about this? I will stick with broadcasting. If you and I were doing a show together, what would be our topic beyond soccer? We got to do something that's not soccer. So you and I are co-hosting Wake Up Call tomorrow morning. What's our topic and who is our guest?
That's a good question. Uh, I'm a big basketball fan, so I'd love to talk about how the NBA can fix the All-Star game. I feel like I love having debates with my friends, and I feel like we've been talking a lot about that sometimes. So I feel like if you and I could maybe get Adam Silver on a call, I feel like that'd be a good talking. I feel like that'd be a good episode to watch.
I got to ask you this now, quick coming off of it. What would you do to the All-Star game?
Uh, I mean, I feel like they've tried to have some sort of incentives with money, but these guys are millionaires. I don't think they really care that much. Because often in the summer when you see them in pickup games, I mean, playing each other, they look way more competitive than they do in an All-Star game. I don't know why they can't just replicate that in the game. I think maybe it's just mid-season they don't want to get hurt. I don't. To be honest, I feel like that's why we need to have a conversation because I don't have a a real solution in my head. So I'd love to pick your brain and see maybe what you think as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean these guys, if I was the coach when you watch the All-Star game, if I was the coach, I'd be taking everybody off the floor. I'd be like, we're lagging, we're not running, we're not trying, our passes are awful, and people are shooting threes from half court the whole game. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
like it just seems like a wasted time. Jack,
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
final question for me?
Um, who's your biggest role model and why?
Oh, my grandmother, my mom's mom. G Mama is what I called her, and still continue to call her. I know she's up in heaven. She, you said, and why? She just taught me things that I can use every day. The unfortunate part of life is that when I was growing up as a kid, you could get bullied from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the world that you guys live in, people can say good or bad things about you at all times through social media and reach out to you as total strangers. And my grandmother taught me a lot of lessons about how to deal with life, how to handle life. Things that were very simple but work everywhere. She would say, pray to God, keep your nose clean, like stay out of trouble. And she she would say, if someone doesn't like you for the person you are, she would, and these are her words, but you guys would probably laugh, but she would look at me and she would go, if someone doesn't like you for who you are and you're being a good boy, piss on them. That's what she would always say. So, it's kind of her way of saying, this world is not always going to treat you fairly. It's not always going to treat you kindly, but don't give them a reason. Be a good person no matter what, even when it's really, really, especially when it's really, really hard to be. And yeah, I mean, she just taught me so many things about life, and she was her kisses and her hugs and the way she would sing to me. I mean, I every single day wake up in the morning wishing that I could get a kiss on the cheek from my grandma. So without doubt, when you said role model, I saw her face, and there's no other answer. My question back to you, Jack. Okay, Jack, it's an election year. I'm going to make you have to answer a tough question. So, it is an election year. Look at how straight your face got. I'm not asking you about candidates. I'm not asking you about candidates. Don't worry. I know you touched your heart. Oh, my gosh. No. It's an election year. You are running for president. Which of your teammates is your vice president, and why did you pick them?
Yeah,
It's a good question.
I'll probably have to say Z, honestly, because I don't really trust anyone else in that locker room to be my vice president. But no, me and Z are, captains this year. We have a good relationship. We live in the same house. We've always gone well. We both want the same, on the field. We want to win. We want everyone to work hard. Want the best for everyone, the best for ourselves as well. So I think at the end of the day, I'm picking Z as my VP.
Yeah, and it rhymes. I love the fact that I said it's an election year and I'm going to ask you a question, and you went dead serious. And then I said it's not going to be about that. You touched your heart.
Yeah.
So I think the world would be a lot better if we had Jack and Z on the ticket. Let's make it happen. So
100%.
With that being said, for you both and for all of Moyne Dolphins men's soccer this season in 2024, go and see them on the pitch coming up August 22nd. Fast approaching. First game at home, Canisius, and then you'll be able to see them an hour away at Binghamton and down the road at Syracuse, and then back at home for 3 of 4. Plenty coming up in this second year in Division I. Gentlemen, thank you for your time today, and thank you for everything that you do on the pitch and in the classroom. As you know, here on Wake Up Call, I appreciate you tremendously, and I look forward to seeing you on the field.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. That coming here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us on the broadcast as we just had the opportunity to step in officially to year 4 with, it is 4 years because we signed our partnership with Moyne in August. So as we step into year 4 here in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins, we got to do that with Ziad as well as Jack here on the show, and having Z and Jack on the broadcast really, really awesome because I love the team and Callum, their head coach, and their assistants, and just everybody around the team. Just a wonderful, wonderful team, hardworking guys, awesome guys, and people that you root for. You can't help but root for. So shout out to Ziad, Abdul-Malak, as well as Jack Goodrich for joining the show here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. When we spin back around, we are going to have a conversation that you do not want to miss. This is a conversation about CTE. Some of you know what this is. Some of you have heard what this is. Some of you don't know what it is at all. But in the world of football, especially, the NFL has had to answer some questions over the years about CTE. and what this sport of football that we love so much has also going on in the background. We're going to discuss it and what it is as we speak with someone who is living with CTE, and that is Ken Bartolo, who rejoins the show, college and pro alum in football and lacrosse, joining me here on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios to tell us a story, his story, about what life is like living with CTE. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servamation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I could tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us, and we thank you so much for being a part of the show inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, on Palladino Farms, and you'll also find them at their newest location at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York, our exclusive home for all of our on-site, on-location CNS North Stars broadcasts. So a lot of great stuff with Heritage Hill. Of course, fantastic food, as well as their drinks that they make there for you. And as always, drink responsibly. For those of you that are of age, drink responsibly. For those of you that are not, don't drink at all. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' here in our second portion of today's broadcast as we head into hour number 2. Ken Bartolo going to be joining me here, and so we look forward to getting him on screen here in just a couple minutes, as Ken and I are going to be having a conversation about living with CTE. So for those of you that don't know about CTE and are unfamiliar with it, well, you probably have heard about it over the past few years, I would imagine the past decade or so, when it comes to the world of football, to the NFL, and some things that we've seen, like the movie Concussion. CTE stands for Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy, and that CTE is a type of brain damage that can be caused by repeated head trauma and hits to the body. So we're going to be discussing that today with Ken in a very open, personal journey that he has had through playing as a college and professional player in the world of football and lacrosse, and now living with CTE. So with that being said, let's bring Ken in here with us, picture in picture, and have the opportunity to tell his story. So very excited here to have Ken on the show as we get this all set up and ready to go. And thank you for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. And so let's see here if we can bring in Ken here onto the broadcast.
Can you see me?
I can hear you, Ken. I'm just trying to bring in here technology this morning. There we go. Look at that. Look at how that happened. So third time's the charm.
I was like, you can't see me.
Yeah, no, third time is the charm. So once again, we are here picture in picture with Ken Bartolo, who played collegiately and professionally in the world of football and lacrosse, speaking on life with CTE. Once again, CTE standing for those of you that don't know, a chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And first and foremost, Ken, good morning this morning.
Good morning, Dan.
And happy to have you here, Ken. And you know, I've had the opportunity of getting to know you over the past few months and getting to speak with you here like this, getting to talk with you in person, and also getting to speak with you back and forth in messages over these past few months. And I know that this is something that's very important to you to speak about. And I think when it comes from someone that is going through it, it's much more weighted of a message and a crucial message to share. So bring us into how this all happened, where you think it happened, and how it came about, because there hasn't been a clear-cut admittance that sports, and when we talk about football especially, that we can connect brain damage to athletics that we've seen, and there's been some type of dancing around it, but you have lived through it. So going back to your playing days, can you point to a time or two or a moment where you got hit and you said, you know what, something's not right?
There were several. Like I walked around for probably 15 years saying something's not right. But I remember my junior year of college, I was playing with concussions. You know what I mean? And back then they would let you play with concussions.
Yeah.
And I think it was like the third time I got one. I got up and I was walking around and I was just like, something's not right. And I didn't know what it was, but I just knew. I'm like, something is not right. My brain's not right. And when I was talking to people and when I was trying to practice and play, just something was slower. I could tell something was wrong with my voice, and you just feel different. Like I felt different. I didn't feel like I was me. I didn't feel like I was the person I used to be. I felt a lot slower, mentally and physically. And it was after that hit. I was going into the end zone and a guy hit me, and he actually knocked me off the field. And it was a pretty bad concussion. And after that hit, I didn't feel the same for about 6 months. So that one I remember. In high school, it was I don't remember, it was my freshman or my sophomore year. But same thing, I got hit. I went down, my head went backwards and hit the ground really hard. And like I couldn't figure out what was going on. Yeah. And all I remember is I was lying on the ground and like I felt paralyzed. And the only thing I realized was the dirt hitting my face. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't move my head, but I could feel like the ground moving from guys running around, and the dirt was hitting me in the face, and I couldn't move for about a second or two. And then like I was trying to get up and they had to help me get up. And then all of a sudden, you know, I felt, you know, I could walk and I could talk and I could play again. And they pulled me out for like 2 or 3 series. And I actually went back in the game. And I remember I felt like I was running on clouds. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like my feet were touching the ground. And the guy said, you played really well, and I don't remember the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I don't remember the rest of the game, and I really don't remember the rest of that season. So those were a couple where I knew something was definitely wrong. And I was fortunate because I wasn't playing basketball anymore.
Yeah.
So I had the winter to kind of clear out my mind. But these things don't go away. Like if you get a pretty serious concussion, it's going to last, and they're realizing that now. But they didn't realize it back then. It was either smelling salts or take a couple of days off.
Yeah.
And with a mild one, or if it's just a dinger, back then they didn't realize, like if you see stars, that's a concussion. But they didn't realize that. So, you'd go back in with a concussion. And they were usually not like stage 4. If they go stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Nowadays, and even back then, if you had a stage 4, they knew.
Yeah.
And that was when they would pull you out. A stage 1 or a stage 2, you're still going to play. And those are the two big ones that I remember. And now that I think about it, I was maybe 12 or 13 playing Pop Warner.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't believe in playing contact until you're in high school. It's just one of these things where, kids weren't taught how to tackle or block properly. Ball, and me and this kid just, bam, head to head. And both of us got knocked out. We were both knocked out. And I woke up in the hospital. And I don't think they kept me overnight, but I remember my mother had to watch me for like a couple of days.
Yeah.
And back then they treated them differently. Now they'd say, let the person do whatever they want. But before, they made you stay awake. So when I got the one in college, my girlfriend actually had to wake me up every 45 minutes because they thought you could go into a coma.
Yeah.
But back now, they don't do that. They let you sleep. They let you rest. And I don't know what changed, but back then that's what they used to do when they thought it was a severe one.
Well, and Ken, and I appreciate you sharing those stories and sharing them so vividly with us. It's to hear these things. This is what we love about, and I'll go to football. What we love about football are the hard hits. But what we forget about football is that those are humans.
Yeah.
That hitting someone and knocking them down, knocking them out. I remember when I used to get videos as a kid, they had those blooper hard hit videos, and you get a VHS tape, and it was like the hardest hits out there and the bloopers. And not only was it clean and legal to do, but they were selling videos of like, and I just remember growing up as a kid hearing a hit, that it wasn't just seeing it, it was hearing it. It was hearing that bang. And I remember, and I even to this day, growing up after hearing the hits as a kid and knowing like that's when you hear a hit like that, that's a hard hit. And then going and covering a Syracuse football game within the past couple seasons and hearing this bang and then looking up and going, yeah, that somebody got hit hard, because what it sounds like when you were going through these moments. And like you said, it was months where you just felt off. Something didn't feel right, where you couldn't get back to being you. What did you go to? Because we hear that players are trying to, some players trying to get this feeling to go away, that they go to temporary stuff, right? Do you or somebody there's people that go to other substances. There's people that try to do natural things. They try to do things with nutrition. There's other people that try to suppress it with alcohol and whatnot.
Yeah.
When you were going through this, how were you trying to make it go away?
Unfortunately, you know my story. I got addicted to painkillers in my sophomore year of high school. So on and off. And then I pretty much got solidly addicted to them in high school. And that was my go-to. Like after a concussion, I would get, and they don't prescribe Percocet for concussions. You know, they're going to prescribe anti-inflammatories. You know, Percocet's not something they're going to use for a concussion. But like, I'd have stuff left over. I'd have stuff from a knee injury. And it's terrible, but I'd go to my friends' houses. And when we were partying and stuff, I'd go in their parents' cabinet, bathroom cabinet, whatever it is, medicine cabinet. And I would steal their Percocet. And then when I got to college, you can get whatever you want. I mean, it's sad to say, but you can get whatever you want in college. You know, if you say you got a sprained ankle or whatever, they're going to give you whatever you want. So that sadly was what I went to. And in college, I started drinking real heavy. So if my head hurt, unfortunately, I drank a lot, which I think affected my performance a lot. And like I offset that with steroids. It was a vicious cycle. But I didn't realize how much my head affected my play until I was done playing. You know, you realize it. But my go-to was unfortunately painkillers and alcohol. You know, there's times it gets so bad that you'll do anything. You'll do anything. And like you were talking about how loud the hits are. When you get to a high level, you know, let's say a high level college game or an NFL game, people don't realize how loud, like when they snap the ball, when those linemen collide, it sounds like a train wreck. Like from the crowd, you probably can't hear it. But when you're down there in the pit, we call it like, you know, on the sideline, it sounds like a train wreck every play. And like a running back coming through and getting nailed by, say, a linebacker or a strong safety, that sounds like a car wreck. You know, I was a wide receiver. You know, if I ran a slant or something and a guy had a line on me, I never saw it coming, but I remember the boom, you know, that bang, and my body just going flying. You know, these guys didn't have to weigh 250 pounds. They were going so fast, it was like, you know, almost like a bullet. You know how a bullet goes? It's how fast they go. It's not how big they are. So these guys are going so fast that, you know, they'll knock you, you know, they'll just hit you so hard you don't even know it. And people don't realize the speed of the game. You know, even the big guys now are running under 5.0s in the 40s. You know what I mean? Now you got guys 360, 380 running 4.8s, 4.9s. Yeah, that's an incredible beast coming at you. You know, and like they're changing the rules, and it protects quarterbacks, to some extent running backs, wide receivers, but the linemen are every play hit to hit, head to head. So I'm waiting for them to do something about that. You know, now that I'm retired and it doesn't affect me, you know, and I really just trying to kind of try to help people with CTE. You know, those are the guys I worry about. I mean, and obviously about like the receiver that's going to get nailed no matter what, you know.
Well, you know, and you brought up the point that I was going to. When you talk about these hits that are happening throughout the game and a hit a receiver is going to take going across. I mean, there's some receivers that won't go across the middle because they know if you are if you are running across the field and you're going to catch that 3-yard pass right above the lineman, there's a really good chance you're going to get knocked. You're going to get hit hard. And Mike Thomas, I remember Jacksonville Jaguars receiver number 80, somebody who I consider a friend. And Mike, he didn't mind going across the middle. And I remember talking to him about it, going like, so many guys don't do it. And I said, how are you okay with it? And he looked at me and he smiled. He goes, that's what these big muscles are for. But he was willing to live in that world. And I said, you're going to find your way on a team because a lot of guys don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But those hits are horrible because you got most of the time you have linebackers that are eyeing, just outside of that defensive line. They're eyeing that part of the field. This guy comes across, you got multiple guys licking their chops waiting to just hit you.
Yeah.
But you brought up the point beyond that, and we can go to wide receivers a little bit more since you played wide receiver. But I also want to get to the point that you mentioned. There's so many hits in a game of football, but when it comes to the offensive and defensive line, they're getting hit on every single play. Hike, helmet, bang. And the thing is like they look at the open field and say, okay, that defensive back led with their head. They went crown to crown to try and take out that wide receiver. We're going to kick them out of the game. But if we were doing helmet-to-helmet contact to kick guys out of the game, the entire offensive and defensive line would be out of the game after the first play.
Yeah.
So let's discuss that.
Yeah. First of all, with the wide receivers and the defensive backs, they usually try. 80% of them, they try not to go head-to-head.
Yeah.
But like a receiver will move his head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying a lot of them just go, bam, I'm going to take this guy out and I'll take the penalty. And they will go head to head.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you'll see, the guy will try to get his head out of the way. But they're going so fast, you know what I mean? Okay, they clip his head.
Yeah.
Or, they'll try and get their head out of the way. And the receiver moves their head exactly the way he's trying to get out of the way. You know what I mean? So a lot of those head-to-heads are, what's the word I'm looking for? The guy tried to avoid it.
Yeah, accidental.
You know what I'm saying? And it just happens. You know what I mean? With the offensive linemen, like they're teaching techniques, don't use your head, put your head to the side, whatever, block with your shoulders. They teach those techniques, but I mean, you're down in that pit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you got a Chris Jones coming at you or whatever, you're going to do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, especially on running plays, as they fall down, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be a big blow because CTE is caused by those little subconcussive hits. You know what I mean? So like if they're risking that every play, they don't necessarily have to say, okay, this guy's coming at me with his head. It just happens, kind of by chance every play because, how many times does a offensive or defensive lineman just end up on his feet every play? Yeah. You know what I mean? During the course of the game, if they run 60 plays, they're going to be on the ground, 30 to 40 of them. Just, their legs get caught. A center hits the guard and their legs get caught and they fall. A lot of the contact is caused by the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with so many heads in there, you know what I mean? That they're gonna hit each other. So even if we just taught them, don't use your head, don't come in with your head. Every great edge rusher, you know what I mean? Like the Nick Bosas and those guys. They're coming in with, as low as they can with their head. You know what I mean? So you got to get down with those guys. And they're so fast and they're coming around the edge. You know what I mean? You usually got to double them. You got to have a back come in.
Yeah.
So you got to get low.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just how the game is. And the interior guys, you know what I mean? Like a center or the center, as soon as he snaps the ball, his head's down. You know what I mean? So they might slap it out of the way. That's a defensive technique. You know, nose guards, D tackles. You know, on a running play, you know, if they, you know, with a lot of running plays, they pull the tackle and the guard, right? When they pull, they're moving so fast, they can't control where their head's going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're pulling. They got two guys they got to take out of the way. Usually one of them's like a linebacker. He's way faster than they are. They have no control on where they're going to put their head. You know, everyone thinks it's just straight line up blocking. It's really not like that on most plays anymore. You know what I mean? You know, how many pocket passers are there?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and even with them, you have to use stunts. You have to use, you know, different blocking schemes. You know, those guys, their heads are going to get knocked around. You know, I would say, you know, with CTE, it's most of them are offensive and defensive linemen.
Well, and we've seen, as we're here this morning on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios with Ken Bartolo, college and pro football and lacrosse player, speaking today with us on Living with CTE. When the movie came out, Concussion, it's funny how I've seen so many movies, and when it comes to the movie Concussion, I can tell you where I was. I can tell you I was at Destiny USA. I could tell you I think the theater when you walked in was on the left side. I remember where I was standing. I remember I went over to the Concussion poster after the movie and just kind of stared at it for a while, put my hand on it, thinking to myself, like, this is insane. And that movie didn't show us everything.
Yeah.
You know, but it did retell some of the stories of NFL players who took their lives.
Yeah.
What did you see the movie Concussion? And first and foremost, and kind of like what you thought of the movie and how accurate it was. And then secondly, living with CTE, how did you experience the movie, seeing other people provide a dramatization of the struggle that some of these guys went? I mean, I get sick to myself, but I sit there and I think about the Steelers player that was there, you know, like by the bridge and was living in his car and pulling his teeth out.
Yep. And that still happens. I'm trying to think of his name. Raymond Berry. He's in the Hall of Fame. Played for the Baltimore Colts, I think. He was a great tight end. And I think it was Thurman Thomas that went to visit him. And like he was in a home, right?
Yeah.
And he was looking out the window trying to pull out his own teeth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's late stage CTE. You know, he played in like the 60s, so he's probably 80 or 90. As far as the film, it was a good Hollywood depiction of it. You know, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
They made it dramatic. Like I said, it was a Hollywood movie about it. But it did. The good thing is it made CTE more of a household conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It brought a ton of awareness to CTE. You know, Will Smith, Alec Baldwin. And it was a pretty big hit. You know what I mean? And now people go back and watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what I think one of the biggest things was when Junior Seau died. You know what I mean? You got a huge name, a guy that everybody loved. That brought a ton of attention to it. But, I mean, these guys were superstars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the part that hit me the most was Andre Waters is living on the streets, you know, begging Dave Duerson for money, and he kills himself. And Dave Duerson was actually the head of the NFLPA, which is the NFL Players Association.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, get out of here. And Dave Duerson's, you know, all made up. You know, he looks all together. And then 5 years later, he's got it and he kills himself. You know what I mean? So it shows that, like, you know, he's got a suit on. He's, you know, perfectly dressed, probably making a ton of money. And, you know, he refuses his friend. And then he ends up doing the same thing. And that's how it works. That's how it happens. But yeah, I thought the best thing it did was draw attention to it. And it was a very accurate depiction, like of how it's diagnosed, what people go through. It got a little bit into that, like how they discovered it, like with Mike Webster. Like Mike Webster's forehead, they couldn't detach the skin. You know, he was gluing his teeth in. To sleep, he was tasering himself.
Yeah.
You know, that's a horrible way to live. I forgot the guy's name, but he drank antifreeze to kill himself. So that's the truth of the horror of it. You know what I mean? And then there was a documentary called League of Denial, and that got into the real intricacies of it. But yeah, concussion was a great step forward for CTE.
You know, and you mentioned a bunch of these guys, but football players diagnosed with CTE, obviously this isn't all of them, but Junior Seau, Dave Duerson, Mike Webster, John Mackey, who played at Syracuse and then went on to the Baltimore Colts. And
I'm sorry, that's who I was talking about.
Yeah, and he was
pulling the teeth out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget. I was talking to Floyd, and Floyd said, "I went to visit." This was recent history. I mean, this is Floyd and I, you know, friends for 8 years before he passed away, and now, you know, he's my friend up in heaven.
Yeah.
When Floyd and I were talking, within the last decade or so, he had gone to visit Mackey. And I said to him, I go, how's he doing? He goes, he just looked at me, and I could picture it when he said it. He goes, he's like, it's just, he just shook his head like he had seen a ghost. And he's like, I went to visit him, and he said he was looking out the window, pulling his teeth out.
That's the story I just told. I just had the wrong name. That's John Mackey. Yeah.
So, I mean, Mackey.
I just forgot his name. Yeah.
Mackey, Colt Brennan.
Yeah.
Justin Strzelczyk. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, he played for the Steelers. He was the next guy after Webster.
Yeah.
His last name's really hard to pronounce.
But yeah, I mean him, Bubba Smith, Tyler Sash, Cookie Gilchrist, Ralph Wenzel, as well as Ray Easterling, Javon Belcher, Ken Stabler, Chris Henry, Andre Waters, you mentioned. Frank Gifford, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
And like Aaron
Hernandez was 27 years old. And Ann McKee said he had the worst case of stage 2 she'd ever seen.
Yeah.
27 years old.
Well, and the thing is, you know, people remember Aaron Hernandez for other things, right? So they don't feel bad for him, so to speak, when a lot of people are talking about him or they joke about it, but another guy who took his life. And you know, like you said, 27 years old, Junior Seau, when you speak on like the ones that kind of hit, Junior Seau, growing up as a kid, I've collected sports cards most of my life.
Yeah.
And I can go back and remember the action-packed Junior Seau, like, bumpy card that I had. And when he passed away, and you're like, oh, okay, like, we just saw him. Like, isn't he, like, 55 or so, like, something like that?
Yeah.
And when he passed, I was like, what the heck did he pass from? And then when you like hear more and more about the story, it's it just kind of made you stop and go, okay, I'm hearing about brain damage connection to football. I'm hearing about CTE. I heard about this guy, didn't really know that guy. Heard about that guy, didn't really know that guy. Junior Seau dies, and I'm like, what is going on? And then the Aaron Hernandez side of things, I didn't even know he had any connection to CTE. Like
Yeah.
that is a this morning for me, because as I'm going through the names, I'm going, okay, yeah, that guy, that guy, that guy, John Mackey, Syracuse. But
Yeah.
Hernandez, I didn't know. Like, full disclosure, as I'm looking at the list, reading it off to people, I learned this morning in the moment, like, oh, he had it too. But the one that really like hit me in a way, because it was before I met you, Ken, the one that hit me was Junior. When Junior passed away, and we were like trying to figure out why, and there's like 2 to 3 days of like what happened, and then you find out he took his life, and you're like, why would Junior Seau take his life? He's like such a positive guy. He's such a nice guy. He seems to be helping the NFL. He helps players. That was the one that really hit me.
Yeah. Your brain lies to you. Your brain lies to you. It's hard to talk about, but your brain will lie to you. Like I have hallucinations. I see things that aren't there. I'll have totally irrational fears. You know what I mean? The best way to define it is your brain lies to you, and you see things from a totally different perspective, and that perspective isn't good.
Yeah.
That's the only way I would say it. When they described his behavior before it happened, like he drove his truck off a cliff before that. When they were describing that, I kind of knew. I was like, yeah, this is what it is. You know, his son said, he would be sitting in a room looking at the TV, and the TV wouldn't be on. Stuff like that. People don't realize, it's not just, we drool and we can't remember anything and all that kind of stuff. The first signs are like rage, anxiety, depression, difficulty remembering things, like headaches. But I mean, I've had a headache for 15 years. So people don't really realize that. So like you get a guy, I'm 240 pounds. You get other guys, that they're still 27, or, Junior played 20 years, so he's 42, but he's still a monster.
Yeah.
So like the rage is hard to control, the Bills just put me on a medication's not even on the market yet. But, they call the pharmacy. It's, you can be on it, but you can't just get a prescription for
it.
Yeah. And like, I didn't know there was a medication for rage, but I've done some stuff that I'm really not proud of, as far as temper and violence and threat of violence, like those are some of the symptoms, anxiety, depression, and then your family will just notice you acting different, totally different. Like you'll become a recluse. You know what I mean? You'll just always want to be by yourself, or at a big gathering you'll sit in the corner. It's very difficult for people to, and it's really hard on the families because how do you deal with that?
Well, I think, when we're discussing this, and there's so many places that I want to go to, I do think it's important when we mention these names, and I'm going to get to what you just said in 1 second, but I do want to make this note because this note is insane. Boston University CTE Center did a study of 376 former NFL players. In the study of 376 NFL players, they diagnosed 345 with CTE of 376 in one study. 91.7% of those studied had CTE in some form.
Yeah.
Talking about this morning, Ken, and I'm so grateful that you've agreed to do this. We're navigating something that, like you said, hallucinations, your brain will lie to you. When we hear of what these players are doing, they're not just killing themselves, they're violently killing themselves.
Yep.
And they're violently hurting themselves, taser, pulling teeth out, gluing teeth back in. So there is this all coming when people say, how could you drink antifreeze? How could you glue your teeth in? How could you taser yourself? Is this happening because of the pain? Is it the brain lying to you and saying, is it almost like a demon whisper where it's like, go do this and you're like, okay? Or is it the pain is so great that I have to do some type of like higher pain to like equal it or stop? Like, why is this happening? Is it the voices that this is happening? Or is it the pain is so incredibly great that it's like, I'll do anything to make it stop?
I would say it's both, but it's more like the voices and stuff. Probably 8 to 10 is the voices and stuff. But some people will do it because they just can't take the pain. Who was it? Jim McMahon was talking about just the pressure and that, his head, he just couldn't take the pressure in his head anymore. So like with some guys, it is the pain in their head. And I get that too. I understand that. Because I've had days where the pressure in my head, I was just like, you got a family, that kind of thought. So that does that's definitely, I can see people doing it because of that. But I think the really violent stuff, and the guys that you hear, you hear guys like shooting 2 or 3 people and then themselves. That's not just from the head, that's something's wrong. Something's wrong. But it does happen from both, but most of it's the voices and stuff you're saying. Because what happens, the tau protein is actually suffocating your brain. You know what I mean? As it spreads. So you don't know what areas of the brain is being affected unless you get a PET scan. You know what I mean? And they'll only give that to certain people. It costs a fortune. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they're doing them at BU now. But like before that, they couldn't tell if you had tau protein or not. And I don't even know if they're sure from the PET scan. But basically what it is like cement drying in your brain. So of course that's going to cause crazy thoughts. Your brain's going to start lying to you. Why would you drink a gallon antifreeze? Somehow your brain told you that was a good idea. Yeah. Or your brain told you, this is what it'll do that'll end this. It's also what I'm worried about is there's probably more college players with it than NFL players just because of the volume of players, right? There's 1,800 NFL players. There's probably 100,000 college players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you play an extra 3 or 4 years, let's say, in the NFL. I think the average is 3 years. So these guys still played 18 years. You know what I mean? It's just the guys in the NFL played 21 years. Or let's say you start at 7 or 8 and you play to 22, 23. That's usually when guys get out of college because you red shirt or you get hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
The where you're almost likely to get CTE is 14 years. That's where you're in real trouble.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean,
if you like, they do studies, and if you played 4 years of college, you're immediately in the study. 14 years of football.
what? So there's people that, and you and I have a strong faith. In having a strong faith, you know that God exists, and you know that the other side does too. How do you differentiate the voices of your brain working against you through this disease, through CTE? How is that different from someone who says, I'm hearing voices that are the antithesis of God, or do they sound the same?
No, you can tell they're different. You can tell. I mean, the ones that feel like the antithesis of God, you can tell they're coming from a different place, a place you can realize. The ones that are just wild, like, I mean, like really wild, like they're violent or they're extreme, or you think people are following you, or, I mean, like they're crazy, or like, kick everybody out of the house. I mean, there's some really bizarre stuff, and I could go on and on. Those don't seem real. You know what I mean? And there's the stuff you fight that you're just like, why am I having these thoughts?
Yeah.
The other ones, you're just like, this isn't real. You know what I mean? And they're so insane, so unbelievable. And you don't feel like you're in your body. They don't feel real. You know what I mean? When you're having those thoughts, they don't feel real. And they're horrifying. You know what I mean? There's some thoughts you can deal with, and you can actually fight. You know what I mean? Like those I fight with God. You know what I mean? Or Jesus. There's some you can't fight. You can't fight. They're just too. You really don't even remember them. You just get through them. Like I'll give you an example. 2 Tuesdays. Well, not this Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. I was talking to my therapist, and all of a sudden, it just felt like a lightning bolt went through my head. And you remember those old square TVs? How they would like just go out and go black. Felt like there was a lightning bolt in my head. Everything went black. So like I was talking to her on the phone, doing a virtual, and everything went black. I couldn't see her. I couldn't see anything. And then I came back, and she looked horrified. And she said, "What just happened?" And I go, "I don't know." And she said, "Well, you looked horrified." You know what I mean? And all I remembered was a sharp pain in my head and seeing her like go away in a second. So everything went black. And then the thing that scared me is she said, "You looked horrified." You know what I mean? And I just remember everything going black, and I was horrified. You know what I mean? And then we tried to talk me through it. but it kept happening for like, and it still happens every once in a while. And she said, your brain has like electric neurons and mine are misfiring. And, that stuff's scary. There's a lot of wild stuff that happens that's painful and scary.
And when you, I mean, Ken, I don't think there's enough words. I'm finding myself this morning feeling like there's kind of air taken out of my lungs because I want to take this away from you. I want to take it away from Rob. I want to take it away from everybody. And I think the thing that I'm really kind of, because, spiritual warfare is a real thing, and I've been discussing it recently, but I think from the outside looking in, when people see people with CTE, they think you're battling demons. They think you're battling the spiritual realm. They think you're battling, that you're a crazy person, you're violent, but it's not demons. It's not God versus the devil. It's you versus your mind. And that to me is like, how do we explain that? How do we describe? I mean, it's not you versus an outside force, like you said. It's you versus an inside force. You're literally fighting yourself. Your heart is fighting your mind. You're trying to grab hold of yourself. One part of your brain is doing what it's doing. Another part of your brain knows that this isn't right. I mean, how do we describe that? How do you describe? I mean, you live it. You live it every day. That your battle is not. It looks like, because when we see these people tasering themselves and this and that, we think this is a crazy person. This is a straitjacket person. This is a person that needs to go to therapy. This is a person that's battling something that was sent by the devil. It's like, no, you're literally battling yourself.
Yep. I think the only thing you can do is be the perfect patient. You know what I mean? Like my neurologist is excellent, and like some of the stuff that really works, like we have a really good CTE page. It's worldwide on Facebook, right? And like there's guys that have been in motorcycle accidents, or not motorcycle accidents, that were bicycle, what are they, BMX guys, not motorcycle accidents, football players, rugby players, female soccer players, because they had the ball so much and their brains are attached differently. And people will talk about what works and what doesn't, So like I'm trying to get the bills to pay for HBOT, which is hyperbolic oxygen therapy. Right now I'm going to start doing ketamine therapy, which everyone's raving about that. Anything that breaks the blood-brain barrier is going to be pretty effective. Like I do a couple kinds of light therapy, and they actually, my neurologist went to BU for like a seminar or something, right? And I was doing syntonic light therapy, and he talked to the neurologist up there, and he said, no, change it to this, change it to that, because he was kind of treating it like a short-term thing, and he said, no, it's got to be a longer term. So when he changed it, I immediately felt a difference.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do all that stuff. Whatever medication they say is going to treat this or treat that, you take it. You know what I mean? Like I'm very anti-medication. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like I can't not take an anti-seizure medication when I've had a seizure. When my handshakes on its own. You know what I mean? These are things you have to do. Um, and and no one's going to tell me, hey, don't take that. You know what I mean? The stuff that helps, I take. The stuff that doesn't, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to slow the progress, or I feel makes me feel better, I have to do. Um, and no matter what, it's going to be difficult. But you do. When I pray for something to come along. Like you said, we both have a very strong faith. And that gets me through a lot of things. You know, I think if I didn't have that faith, you know what I mean? Be tough. Be tough.
Well, and and I was going to ask you that, Ken, is like all these things that we've been talking about and these battles and, a couple Tuesdays ago, like you said, seeing everything go to black and having your therapist say, you looked horrified. What gets you through this is where, I was going, but I know you have a strong faith and I know that your wife Susan is on here right now and she's
Mm-hmm.
watching and she's commenting. So I know that your wife, your faith in God, I would imagine those are your places that you go to.
Yeah.
But just what you can say about how you navigate through this, because you agreeing to talk about this with me. I mean, you're facing it, you're discussing it, and
Yeah.
and I commend you for it, and I love it because we have to talk about it. But I know
Yeah.
that it's also difficult for you. So I mean, where is when these moments happen, when the voices are talking, when you feel like you're not in control, when you're in a ton of pain, when the pressure won't go away, when these moments are just too much to bear, is it God and Susan? What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. God, Susan. Um, and like, you got to have a place that just chills you out, right? A place that reminds you of, like, I like nature, right? That reminds, like, I didn't make that tree, or, I didn't make that sky.
Yeah.
And speaking of Susan, like, we have a sick garden, right? And like, we set up almost like a little swing set thing where our lawn chairs are, or not even lawn chairs, the chairs you sit out and whatever. But like, it's so peaceful out there. You know what I mean? And that's like my little God place. You know what I mean? And like, if you would have told me 30 years ago, you know, I'd have been a motivational speaker that spoke to 500,000 people, and I'd be doing podcasts about CTE, and I'd be a gardener, and it's just, I was talking to one of my best friends. He lives on Long Island, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know what's going to happen this afternoon. You really don't, so you have to have that faith. And, all these people are like, oh, God, what's going to happen in November? You were talking to your last guest about, who would you pick as your vice president? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen over the week. So, like, how do I get through the hard times? Part of it's stay in the moment. When you're suffering, don't give it time. You know what I mean? Don't say, well, this usually lasts an hour. You know what I mean? Just be like, okay, I'm suffering now. And then 5 seconds later, be like, okay, I'm suffering now. And like, just stay in the moment. And it's not going to last forever. And I learned that a long time ago through getting sober, because that's a very spiritual program. So everything I've learned spiritually, and it's strange because getting sober has helped me with my spirituality and getting through a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine when you go through these moments that essentially every time this happens with your brain, you're fighting to get Ken back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're constantly bringing Ken back. Uh, What can you say about your strength and your determination and your perseverance that you always bring Ken back? I think that's a beautiful. I've been trying this whole time to not cry, but like every time you bring Ken back, right? Like that's like I want to spin that to a positive, Ken. Like how do you always get back? How do you always bring Ken back? Because like I'm happy you do, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful you do. So like that journey, as much as like people can look at it negatively and be like, this is so difficult, I got to keep doing it. Like to me, it's like Ken Bartolo's got 1,572,683 wins right now. Like you
Yeah.
keep bringing Ken back. So how do you do it?
Um, I mean, I've had a lot of stuff in my life, you know. You break your back as an athlete. You've got to do a lot just to get back on the field, right? And it's hard work. It's going through pain. It's doing stuff that probably a lot of other people wouldn't do, right? And then my addiction started, and that's horrible. It's hard because you see it destroying your life and you see it taking away things that you should have. And like, I don't know if you know, but it got bad. I mean, like, I was really, really thin. I got into really bad drugs like crack cocaine. And I mean, that's ugly stuff. You see things you don't want to see when you get into the heavy drugs. You know, being homeless, going to jail, all that stuff. When you overcome all that, you learn how resilient you are. You know what I mean? Like when you've had a really hard life, you build tools. You know what I mean? That get you through the hard stuff. Um, I wouldn't change my life. I wouldn't change my life because of all the stuff I've gotten through. It helps me to get through this. And I can't tell you how many things I've had to get through. I don't know if you know what Xanax is.
Yeah.
It's like that is the hardest withdrawal. I don't wish it on anyone. Most people that go through it either stop or like a lot of people become suicidal. Most people have to go back on it. I went through it. I got off it, and it is. Can I say hell on your show?
Yeah.
It's horrifying, and it's hell. And I got through that. You know what I mean? And afterwards, it's just horrifying. The way you feel is just it's like torture. And you get through that kind of stuff, and you kind of feel like, wow, I got through that. I got through that. I got through that. And I use that stuff now. You look back and you're like, man, you know.
And I'm happy you did, and I'm happy you continue to, and I'm happy you turned to God, because that God is an always thing. God is an everyday thing. God is not fickle. God is not, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. God is, I'm here. We're going to battle. We're going together. So in that light, Ken, would you be okay if we concluded our conversation today with a prayer?
Sure.
Okay. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I ask today that you help Ken, and you help anyone who is battling CTE or anything connected to it or any type of brain damage. I ask you that you go and reach inside of their brain, reach inside of their body, their soul, their heart, and that you heal them. You place your hands over them and you do the unimaginable, the unthinkable, but what we know you have the capability of doing. Miracles happen every single day, and I pray that you take this away from every single one of them. You give them peace. And if that is not the journey and that is not what's going to happen and it's not a complete cure, that your miracle that you give to Ken and everyone that is fighting CTE and any type of brain issue or brain trauma, that you give them the ability to live with it, to live through it, to live above it, and to not be defined by it. God, I pray that through you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as your Son rose from the dead and did something that no one can do and no one will ever do again unless they come through you, that with all of that power and all of that might, all of that belief and all of that faith, you give the faith, the belief, the power, the joy, the confidence, the kindness, the humility, and the beauty of life to every single one of these people, that their quality of life is not hindered, that their life is not hurt, that they are not below the average human being, but they are right here with us fighting every single day to get back to heaven with you, laughing, smiling, celebrating, making good memories, and being the beautiful soul that they are. You never created any one of us the same, not even identical twins. So I ask that you give them all the highest quality of life that any one of us can have, and that Ken and everyone that is battling this is not defined by it, that they don't succumb to it, that there is no loss to it, but that through it, like Ken said, they become an even better person, an even better warrior for you, and that they live the greatest life that they possibly can. And when they are done with this earth at 100+ years old each, that they smile when that light shines upon them and they go home. And in the meantime, that they give everything they have, and that you give it right back to them tenfold, 100-fold. And that Ken's life and everyone's life will have good news, positive news, a cure, and if not a cure, something, many things along the way, gifts from you to help them on every step of their journey back home. In God's precious and beautiful name we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father,
Amen.
Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. I love you, man.
I love you too, brother.
Thank you for everything, and thank you for sharing this today. We've only just begun, and I can promise you that you got another person standing behind you, beside you, and right there with you the whole time.
I know I do.
I love you.
I love you too. Take care.
Take care. That coming here from Ken Bartolo on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, sharing his story living with CTE and not being defined by it. We'll be back here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios right after this. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. They are your sports card shop of choice, in my opinion, and trading card shop. Folks, all ages collect sports cards. Why is that? Because it brings us closer to our team. It helps us to feel connected to the players that we love, to the sports that we love, to the teams that we love, to the characters that we love, and the games that we love to play. There's something about keeping that kid spirit. My mom always fostered that with me. She was like, keep your kid spirit. You know, she always wanted me to be a big kid. Keep my kid spirit, right? And my grandmother, my G-mama that I mentioned earlier, all about that. Keep your kid spirit. Be who you are. You know, keep that childish wonder. And so when people come up to me and would say to me, you know, why collect sports cards? Why collect trading cards? Because that childish wonder stays alive with that. And it helps to remind you. I tell people all the time, I can literally forget what I had for lunch. I can forget why I went upstairs to get something. Like, what did I go upstairs to get? But if you point to a card in my studio, I could tell you where I got it and probably who I got it from. There's just something special about it. There's a connection that your brain makes and your heart makes to those moments, to those memories, to being a big kid. Because if you keep that child spirit going, that child spirit will guide you for the rest of your life. And that child spirit is right there at GG Cards and Breaks. And that's because they're led by fantastic people in Josh and Anthony. Make sure you go over and see them today, Tuesdays through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, here on the broadcast, I want to thank you for tuning in today. I want to thank you for being here. I'm always grateful that you're here. It means a lot to me. And today's conversations, it shows like this feel like they happened on separate days. It feels like Z and Jack were talking to me yesterday, and then Ken's talking to me today. There's a lot spoken about today, a lot to cover, a lot of ground, a lot of information. I want to thank Z and Jack for being a part of the show. I want to thank them for talking about their adversity through injury, their mental health, and not giving up. I want to thank them for their time this morning. I want to thank them for their leadership, as they're both captains on the team this season for the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer program. I want to thank Callum Donnelly, their head coach, for believing in me and giving me time and appreciating me. I want to thank every single one of the members of the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer team, as well as all of the student athletes and the coaches on campus at Moyne. I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me tell your story for the last 3 years. And as we head into year number 4, I am very proud and wear as a badge of honor being your exclusive multimedia marketing partner, which has really just been an excuse to get to know you all a little bit better and to build personal, lifelong relationships with some amazing people. Z, Jack, I add you to that list, and I look forward to continuing to grow with you. I know Z was on the show last year, so I look forward to adding you all to the relationships that I value so very much, and I cannot wait for August 22nd. For Ken Bartolo, can't thank you enough for telling your story, Ken. We've only barely scratched the surface, and the whole time that we were talking, all I could think to myself was, we need to do more of this. We need to do this on stage. We need to do this in front of people. We need to do this many more times, because Ken fighting against it in his life and sharing with people his story, his why, his journey, his faith, and everything that he's been through. I'm a firm believer that when you're fighting something and you're going up against it and you're saying, God, we're going to do this, you've already won before you've even had the battle. But keeping that to yourself is something that I don't think we should do. Because when you're fighting battles and you're willing to go up against it and you're doing it with God and you're winning every day, I think you have to tell people that. When people say, Dan, why do you talk about your personal life on your show? Because I want somebody watching and listening to not give up. I want them to know I was there. I want them to know I understand. And though we may not have the same issues or the same troubles or the same things going on, that you can get through whatever's facing you, and that doing it with God is going to change the whole game, change the dynamic. Ken telling his story today may save a life. Ken telling his story today may help someone hold on. Ken telling his story today may help a family member and a loved one of someone who's going through CTE to have a reinvigorated self, to have more energy, to have a belief that they can get through it. You never know how you're going to meet people, but they say you always meet people where they're at. And we don't know where people are at. There's people that we've known our whole lives, and we don't specifically know in their life right now in this moment exactly where they're at if they don't share it with us. So I feel we have to share. We have to tell our stories. Because in life, who are we if we don't help somebody else? Who are we if we're fighting battles alone? Ken's not alone. Anyone fighting CTE, I want you to know you are not alone, because I prayed for you today, and I will pray for you every single day for the rest of my life. No one should ever have to go through a battle alone, and you never do. Bare minimum, you have God. Bare minimum, you have the greatest teammate ever in history of anything. So may we tell our stories, have the courage to tell our stories. Because as hard as it is, as difficult as it is, I don't want somebody like Ken to feel like he spends his life inside of his own brain. That everything that he does is trapped. He's not trapped. His spirit is free. He has the ability to share that spirit as a public speaker, share that spirit here on the show. I never want someone to feel trapped. I have felt trapped for different reasons and in different situations. No one should ever feel that way. So Ken, without you, we couldn't tell your story. With you, we can change the world. And I look forward to doing that together. With that being said, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is here with you on Facebook.com and YouTube.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You can find us all around the world. There's no place that where we don't go. If you have the internet, you have us. And I appreciate y'all watching and listening Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. After the shows go live, we jump into the archive. We added the Ingredients to Success there yesterday. My Ingredients to Success comes to you every Tuesday, presented by Avicoli's. Yesterday's topic was The Outside Noise Belongs Outside. And you can listen to that from anywhere in the world on any one of these channels right now, as well as many shows. Podbean alone has over 1,600, I think it's over 1,800 actually, episodes that are currently there. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, as mentioned, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube, among others, are places that you can find us. You have to search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or Wake Up Call DT. That's as much work as you have to do. Go to your favorite podcasting platform, go to any one of these channels, download that app, type in Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word Wake Up Call DT, click subscribe or follow, which is free on all these channels, and you'll have us, and it will automatically update on all of your devices when we add a new show. And I appreciate you going there and signing up for us. Thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Heritage Hill Brewhouse, Heritage Hill North, Carvel DeWitt, where you can get my DT Dolphin Sundae, an ode to the Moyne Dolphins, mint chocolate chip ice cream, green, of course, for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream, and a cherry, topped off with green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of the whipped cream. You can get that exclusively at Carvel DeWitt on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. And on Wednesdays, like today, it's buy one, get one. So you can get 2 Dolphins for the price of 1 today at Carvel DeWitt and every Wednesday. So bring a friend, family member. If you're on a first date, save some money in today's economy, right? Bring her there, bring him there, and go, hey, I'm going to get the ice cream on me. Don't tell them it's buy one, get one. I'm telling you. Go and get it today. The Wildcat Sports Pub, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Avicoli's, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the snack capital of the world, is located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, and in just a couple weeks, it'll be located all over the great New York State Fair. Go and visit Ma and Pa's Spud Shack and their lemonade stand at the fair this year. Pizza Man, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation Refreshments, reimagining what it's like to have vending in your college, university, and place of business, Great Lakes Honda City, and Mother's Cupboard, where I have my exclusive sandwich, the Cuse McMother. The Cuse McMother, 7 days a week, available to you from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on 3709 James Street in Syracuse at a Syracuse staple restaurant. If you know Syracuse, you know Mother's. If you know Mother's, you know Syracuse. Head off there today and get the Cuse McMother. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. And I know some of you like it with sausage and you design it your own way. Go and get the Cuse McMother, my signature breakfast sandwich, exclusively at Mother's Cupboard today. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner with the Moyne College Dolphins. Find your Dolphins on Wednesdays during Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, like today. We'll jump into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can find all of our content with the Moyne College Dolphins by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Moyne playlist. You'll also find your Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And as always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bobcats in 2 campuses on James Street in Syracuse, up the hill from the city, and also on Route 57, right off of Route 57 in Liverpool, across the street from Avicoli's. So if you're over there at their Liverpool campus, you're going to be eating good, going right across the street to Avicoli's to get some fantastic food and supporting local business. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month. Student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year. Men's and women's basketball, men's and women's soccer that have each won national championships, baseball, and esports. The Bobcat Buzz provides an opportunity for you to get to know what Bryan and Stratton College Syracuse is all about. They are a unique college. They are a unique atmosphere, and they have fantastic teams that compete nationally against teams in NCAA Division II, Division III, Division I, as well as USCAA. The Bobcat Buzz gives you an opportunity to spotlight an institution that does things differently and is a truly beautiful, awesome gem in our community that I just love talking about because I love the people. Find the Bobcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You also find your Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And you already know what it is, but I'll tell you anyways. Go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time internationally, right here on Wake Up Call exclusively in what we call Bearcat Time. Moments with Marshall, jumping in to stories behind the scenes with Gene Marshall, the Binghamton University Athletics Director, and the Bearcat Break Room, where we learn about student athletes, coaches, and administration. In just a few months, the Bearcats have provided incredible stories with incredible people, giving a unique approach to their life, to their journey, to their classroom time, as well as to the sports that they love. Binghamton feels like they've been here forever because of their stories, their people, their kindness, their goodness, and their positivity. I cannot thank Binghamton enough. And airing this week, I'm going to go a little throwback to when I got to speak with Emily Mackay, as she is in Paris and she is an Olympian. She was in the top 6 in the 1500 for track, which means that she has advanced to the next round, which is happening this Thursday. You'll hear from Emily Mackay, so make sure you look out on your social media and our YouTube channel. All of our stories with the Binghamton University Bearcats can be found on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com. And for Emily Mackay, let's go, Olympian. Let's bring home something amazing. I know you already have the memories. I know you already got to the next round. And because she got into that next round, Emily said it herself. Now I'm truly an Olympian. Officially an Olympian. Well, Emily, I know you got more left in the tank, and we can't wait to see what you're going to do next. God bless you. God bless the Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank once again my awesome guests, Ziad, Abdul-Malak, for joining the show, as well as Jack Goodrich, each of the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer program as they head into the 2024 season. Game 1 is at home at Ted Grant Field on August 22nd. Make sure you go out and see them and support them all throughout the season, including for their home and season opener in their second season in Division 1, reclassifying from Division 2. And many thanks to Ken Bartolo for joining the show today, speaking on living with CTE. Impactful is an understatement. Faithful is an understatement. Beautiful is an understatement. Fighter, courageous, determined, perseverant, kind, compassionate, giving, humble, selfless is an understatement. Ken Bartolo, we got work to do, brother, and we're going to do it together with God. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For Z, for Jack, for Ken, for you, thank you so much. And above all things, for God. Inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, God bless. No stress. Do your best.